This week on the Orange Box Podcast, we talk all about the 2024 Game Awards announcements and more. All of this tonight, but first, on to that beautiful bean intro. Welcome to the place where PC and console gaming talk combine. This is the Orange Box Podcast, episode 63. I am your host, the man who intends to get fully lost in the Nomura-ness of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Nathan, also known as the Frozen Gamer 87. And joining me, as always, the man who is so excited about The Last of Us Part 2 coming to PC that he is going to buy 2 copies, Justin, better known as I Am Zeracon. How you doing today? How's your week been?
Oh man, my week's it's been busy, but also not busy at the same time. Like work has been hectic since while my company technically goes on a break after this Thursday and picks up again like after New Year's. My department unfortunately doesn't work on the whole, so we still have stuff that we'll be doing over the break. Part of that has been just working ahead of time because we're sort of like floating around around Christmas time, just because the fact that some people will need to be working, some people won't need to be working, and we're just alternating who's working what days. But because of that, like a whole lot of stuff's coming in for us that we need to work on, and it's just like really hectic right now. And it's like hopefully by Wednesday most of the stuff will be done, but by Thursday definitely everything should be, at least the big stuff should be squared away. But we'll definitely just see on that end. But just like outside of work, not too much has happened. I did get the RAM for the Steam machine. I decided to, just to make sure, because of the fact that I actually have to take everything apart just to access the RAM slots, I went ahead and ordered a new CMOS battery, just to like replace that, so that way I know I won't have to open this, or shouldn't have to open up this thing again anytime soon.
Yeah.
So that should be coming in Thursday or Friday, and then I can just get to work on that. But yeah, other than that, not too much has happened.
All right, good stuff. Well, let's see here. I'm trying to think of what's happened in my week. Mostly just been pretty typical stuff. I got the Red Dead Redemption comparison all finished and
Nice.
up on the channel, which obviously you already checked out. I do want to note for people who are listening, we are recording on a Monday, which normally we record on Wednesday, and we'll be doing that both this week and next week. Next week's episode will actually be coming out on Christmas, so at least that's the goal. It shouldn't be a problem for me to get it edited in time for that. But anyway, so there was that. Obviously, man, I'm just trying to think of oh yeah, so update from last week regarding the missing in all the data that I lost, all the stuff that I accidentally deleted. So I was able to recover a fair amount of stuff. I don't think I was able to recover everything. There's definitely stuff I wasn't able to recover. It's possible if I run the software again that it will finish recovering, because I think we might have had a power outage partway during that recovery process. But at least I was able to recover a lot of stuff. And I think that I recovered the bulk of what I was looking to recover. So nothing major that I can think of. I mean, I may discover later on that there's still some stuff missing, but I'm pretty sure it was only one drive that I had that was that I deleted some stuff. So it is what it is. But yeah, this week's going to be a short work week for me. I'm working through Wednesday, and then Thursday, Friday, all the way until the end of the year. I'm off. So, get about, altogether, it's about 2 weeks. Yeah, I think that's right. So yeah. It's about 2 weeks that I get off from work, including weekends and holidays. So I think altogether I'm taking like 8 days off for actual like pay time off, and then the rest of it is all holidays. So works out nicely. But yeah. Oh, something I do want to mention. It's not a game that I played at all, but I did get in the mail the 20th anniversary edition of Beyond Good and Evil from Limited Run. So I haven't even opened it up yet. Because I don't have any plans to play it right now, but I wanted to get the physical version of that, so I did.
Nice.
But yeah, that's pretty much it. So, what have you been playing in this past almost week?
Solely everything I've been playing has just been, for what low gaming I've done, has been Kingdom Hearts. Well, actually, no, before I actually get into that, I do want to make a quick note, is that I went back to my Steam Deck just to see, because you mentioned, we talked about Psychonauts last week, and I realized that I did not play it originally on my Steam Deck. And I realized also the fact that there are two versions that you can actually have on the Steam Deck. One is the native Linux version, and which you mentioned, and then also having the Proton version. If you started the game on a Windows computer and then went and then run it on your Steam Deck, the save data will only apply to the Windows version. If you play the native Steam or Linux version, the save data won't be there, so you'd have to start completely over from scratch. And sort of similar to what you experienced, because I was just trying to test it out and stuff. I was not able to get the controls to work at all for the. Well, actually, strangely enough, I wasn't able to get it to work for the Proton version, but for the Linux native version, the controls worked. Which is weird.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna try to see if I can I'm gonna see if I can do something to at least try to see if I can get my save transferred over properly, because I don't necessarily want to start over, but considering the fact that it's been almost a year since I've touched the game, I probably might just start over from scratch and see what happens with there. Oh, and then also one last thing I'll also mention about Psychonauts is the fact that I checked for the achievement regarding purchasing an item from the shop. It actually seems to be only on Christmas Day.
Oh, okay.
So if you go before or after, you will miss it.
I will try to make sure I do that then.
Yeah. But as far as what I actually did play, though, as I was saying, Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep Final Mix. I think I'm right near the end of Terra's story, because right now I finally got into the Keyblade Graveyard. And, well, I just want to say a couple things about Terra's story so far. While I made comparisons last week to Star Wars, I do want to say that Terra is just really dense, considering the fact that every Disney World he's gone to, either he's been fully manipulated or he just follows whatever the Disney villains tell him. And I mean, even Riku in Kingdom Hearts 1 was not this bad. I mean, he didn't even fully trust all the villains, and even though he was working with them, he didn't trust them, and he was even just ordering them around. So I mean, Terra being a Keyblade, well, not officially a master, but being a fully trained Keyblade wielder, is going around and not seeing that these guys are bad news. I just found that, yeah, I can see why you were passed over from being a Keyblade master. But I do still feel like certain things in the story, going back to like what I said about Yensid, was just the fact that I feel like if people just said stuff, we could prevent so many problems. Like, I got to a point where Terra runs right into Ericus and Ven, and Ericus seems to be like he's going to destroy Ventus or something, and they get into a fight. And I'm just wondering, I feel like I'm missing a whole lot of context here, or Terra at least is missing context. And it's like, hey, what's going on here? You know, I feel like especially on Ericus's end, he could have just explained the whole situation instead of just like, why are you not obeying me? And
Yeah.
I just found that I just found that funny. But I also tried going through some of the arena mode stuff, so like trying to go through the different combat sessions, which I'm making progress in. But I'll say the command board games and the racing games, I'm just not all that great at.
Yeah.
Especially the racing, because I feel like the controls for the racing aren't that. At least we're trying to make like drifting turns. I'm having a hard time getting that right because either I'm crashing into walls or I happen to accidentally turn myself around, which I'm still just trying to just get the hang of trying to get that to work right. But yeah, definitely doing that. I feel like right now I feel like I'm about to reach the complete end of Terra Story
Yeah.
because I've gone through a part of the Keyblade Graveyard, and so there's right before I stopped playing, I saw that at the end of the area I was in, there's the actual graveyard because I see all the Keyblades laying out, and so I'm thinking to myself, I don't know if this is the complete end, if this is the end of the Terra Story, so I think I might try to go back and get anything I couldn't get before, and because can you come back to playing as another character once you're done with their story?
To be
Or no?
I think so, but I honestly don't remember.
Okay.
Either way, I would say, yeah, you're. I mean, from what I recall, at least, you're definitely right near the end
Okay.
of Terra Story. So,
Yeah, well, that's not bad. And I guess, sort of going back to what I said, I guess I can appreciate the fact that they didn't make each character, or at least from what I'm saying, each character's quest too long since you have to play as three different
Right.
characters. So I can appreciate the length that they made
Yeah.
for the games. And also, I also have to consideration that this was a PSP game, so it's not like you have a full PlayStation 2 where you have to get these like huge
Right.
areas and maps and stuff. But still appreciate what they did with everything.
yeah, just definitely make sure you do Aqua's story last because hers really is intended to be the one that closes everything out. So, I mean, I think you probably would have gotten more of that context you were looking for from if you'd played Ventus's story first, but either way, definitely save Aqua's for last.
Okay.
But yeah, good stuff. I'm glad that you're enjoying it and still playing because it still remains one of my favorite of the Kingdom Hearts games. I mean, 2 is still my number one, but Birth by Sleep is definitely second. So good stuff. All right, as for what I've been playing, so I haven't gotten a ton of game time in over the past week, but where I have gotten game time, of course, played some more Psychonauts. I am embarrassed in like one of the boss fights where it took me way too long to figure out how to actually damage the boss. Suckerfish or whatever it's called. It's like a big Frankenstein monster thing, and you have to.
Oh.
It took me a while to figure out how to actually damage him, and I just felt embarrassed at how long it took me to figure that out. But anyway, so let's see here right now. The last thing I did was I finished up the Milkman part. That town that was fun and interesting, and then I just started the Crazy Stage Ladies world. So I didn't get super far into it. Probably played like another 2 or 3 hours since the last time we talked. But after we spoke last week, I went ahead and looked into what it would take to get Superland running on the Steam Deck, and I played quite a lot of that. So this is another situation where I'm definitely pretty well embarrassed at how long it took me to figure this one out. But I did get that puzzle sorted. So to refresh your memory on what it was that I had issues with. When I originally was playing this one section, I thought that what I needed to do was I needed to fire off a projectile and then jump down onto a switch and do like a butt slam on it in order to activate the switch so that it would lift up a board so that the fireball would get past it and get to a switch. And I thought that was how I had to do it. And I just couldn't figure out the right timing. And of course, with the jumping being very floaty, I was having more issues with it. And I didn't unfortunately get it recorded here. This is just me trying to figure out the puzzle. But it turns out that I was supposed to shoot the fireball through a pipe, and then it would come out another pipe. So it gave it a lot more travel time. I basically just fired it. I could stand like on the switch itself and then fire the fireball into a pipe. It would come out another pipe and slowly come, and then as it got close, that's when I'm supposed to slam down the switch, and then it lifted up the thing so that it could get to the activator thing. So anyway, but yeah, I played a decent amount of that on the Steam Deck. Basically, the settings that needed to be done were, one, I needed to, of course, running it in Proton 7. I think it's 7.06 is what I'm running it on. Do it at all low settings, 70% resolution. And at least on the Steam Deck screen, it still actually looks pretty great. And I can get a locked 45 frames per second. So I tried to see if I could get 60, but it wasn't really getting up to 60. So I went for 45 because that's a nice medium in between 30 and 60. And I mean, I don't think it ever drops below 45. So it's very nice from that standpoint. And I played a pretty good amount, making some good progress. I think I'm like maybe 30% or so through the game, something like that. I'd have to look at my thing again, but I think I have like maybe 10 hours total in the game so far. So, but yeah, it's been good. I'm having a good time with it. After I had finished doing that Red Dead comparison, putting it together, I just felt like playing a little bit, partially because of the fact that I needed to check the settings anyway. And the footage that's being displayed here is actually not recorded on the Steam Deck, mostly because I accidentally recorded that in 16:10 resolution, and it displays funky on 16:9 screens. So what's playing here is just footage from the PC version. But yeah, I mean, the game still looks amazing, runs extremely well. You know, I can get a near locked 60 frames per second on the Steam Deck. As you saw in the video footage, you know, it looks really good on the Steam Deck, especially like the nighttime scene. That was like the one thing that stood out to me the most, because those stars just like really pop out of the black sky, and the HDR being used for that just really makes a big difference in how good it looks. Yeah, I didn't play a lot. I played like a couple hours. Apparently, I didn't save after I had done a couple things the last time I played, so like the couple of short missions I had done weren't actually saved, and so I had to redo those, but it wasn't a big deal. I mean, none of them took very long to finish, and I just redid those and a couple others, made sure I had my game saved, and yeah. But yeah, I just kind of felt like playing it a bit. So it's mostly Superland, mostly Psychonauts. But today I just kind of on a whim decided to play something else, and you may, or I mean, depending on whether or not you looked at Steam at all this afternoon or this evening, you may have seen what I was playing. Dark Souls Remastered. So I decided, just because I've wanted to do it for a long time, I started up a new character as a sorcerer build. Because I've never played as a sorcerer. I've only done strength builds. And I've always wanted to try sorcerer because I thought it would just be kind of fun, you know, something different. And people have said that sorcery is easy mode, and I would agree. So far, I've basically just barely gotten past the gargoyles. Between having Solaire help me in that fight, because like I didn't need Solaire. Realistically, I definitely could have done it myself, but I just like, you know, I've already beaten this game a couple times. I'm just doing this for fun. So I, you know, summoned Solaire, and you know, he was kind of distracting him a bit, but really my magic spells were doing a ton of damage to the gargoyles. And I think I think it probably took me like, I want to say 30 to 40 seconds to get through that fight. I mean, it was so fast. And I mean, there are some things that I don't like about sorcery, mostly because in this game, of course, you can't regenerate your magic, and so it's like you have a limited number of spells. You can carry multiple spells, but like early on in the game, you basically only have access to one or two at the most. And I mean, like right now, I just have two spells that I can use, but I'm basically what I'm aiming for is mainly sorcery, but also having enough dexterity and strength where I can wield other, have a close range weapon for when I run out of magic. One thing that I am thinking I will probably end up doing, at least when I get further along in the game, is I may just do sorcery and strength and have sorcery in one hand, Zweihander in the other. So that way I have the best of both worlds. But either way, I don't think I'm going to be sticking with this super long, but I just felt like playing it, and it's, like I know sorcery's really good in Dark Souls Remastered, whereas it's not quite as good in like Dark Souls 3, or at least it's good, but it's not broken. And mostly it's just I've always wanted to try a sorcery build, and I've never done sorcery in any Souls games, so I figured I would give it a try for a bit and just mess around with it, see where I can get, how far I can get before I decide that I don't want to do it anymore. The one thing I wish I could do easily is give myself the Manus Catalyst from my other game, because then I could just, have a super strong, catalyst for casting spells. Because, I mean, I'm sure that if I do stick with it, or, even if I just play it little by little bit here and there, I would probably end up facing Manus again with the sorcery build, but I still think it would be kind of nice to be able to have something that I already worked hard to get a couple times in the game. And I mean, I can think of a way potentially to do that, but it's maybe a little more complicated than I actually want to do. So, So yeah, but yeah, I mean, I don't know, I've put in maybe a few hours, because like I said, I don't even think it's a few hours, because I've only like just barely gotten past the gargoyles. Like I got past the gargoyles, went back to Undead Asylum just to get the Rusted Iron Ring, and take out the Fallen Knight guy and the Black Knight that was there, and I very briefly attempted to fight the Stray Demon. Of course, that didn't go well. Right now, I think I'm like level 23 or something, but I mean, it does it
Yeah.
like, yeah. So, I mean, in general, like I have not found myself struggling at all, because sorcery does make it really easy. The only thing I kind of wish is that I had like a stronger, just like handheld weapon, or at least that I had more spells. And I know that I can buy, let's see here, I think actually I bought all the spells I can right now, at least all the sorceries, because like I can buy some miracles. I'm not even actually sure if I can use miracles as a sorcerer, or if I can only use sorcery. I'd have to look into that. I would like to think that I could use both, but I honestly have no idea if I can. My guess is I probably can't, because Dark Souls is just a jerk like that sometimes. But, oh yeah, and then I killed like the zombie dragon out in the Valley of the Drakes. At least I did once I had two spells, because when I only had one spell, I would run out of spells before I could do enough damage to take it out. But once I had two, then I could handle it. So, but yeah, I think that's really it. As far, I mean, I played Lego games with the boys and Mario Party, and yeah, that's everything.
Okay. So I guess sort of as an answer based on what I recall hearing and seeing, if you have enough faith, I think you can use miracles, but I'm not 100% certain on that end.
Okay.
Because I can't remember if like you just need to have it reach a certain threshold. Because I know that certain things, of course, obviously, like with swords, you need to have enough strength to lift
Right.
them, or like for certain like spears, you need enough dexterity. So I would imagine if you just have enough faith, then you can use them. But I'm not 100% certain. Someone else would have to like answer that question.
Yeah, I'll probably talk to my Dark Souls buddy tomorrow because we're having our Christmas lunch thing at work. So, when I hang out with him, I will ask him about it because he will definitely know the answer. I mean, I know with Pyromancer, you can only do Pyromancy, you can't do anything else. And so it wouldn't surprise me if it's similar with sorcery and miracles, that you have to have the class specifically tied to that in order to use them. But it would be nice if I could use both, because then I could also have an extra way to heal myself when needed. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting about hearing you about going back to Dark Souls, though. Especially, I mean, of course, you did mention the fact that you really enjoyed a lot of the mechanics more in that one. So, I mean, also though, I wasn't expecting to necessarily jump back in right after playing 3, but I mean, hey, if you've got that itch, I mean, granted, I sort of got an itch to play Dark Souls 3 after you finished it, and so I mean, I feel like at some point I will go back to that game. I probably will start over fresh because I want to get to the DLC, but going in at New Game Plus 2
Yeah.
isn't necessarily my idea of a good time for something that I haven't even completed in regular New Game.
Right.
But one thing that I will say, which you mentioned before, and I think it's really weird, is how Dark Souls 1, at least the remastered version, has cloud saves, but Dark Souls 3 doesn't.
Right.
That's really weird.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to, I was going to actually try just playing the game in general on my Steam Deck at one point, and then I saw my save data wasn't there, and I was thinking to myself, that's weird. Pretty certain that it should transfer over, but then I remembered what you said, and I was like, oh, okay, that's it. Just doesn't have cloud saves, which is odd, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, at least it's pretty easy to transfer over if you use Winpinator and Warpinator is what I use. Well, actually, never mind. You're just using Linux anyway, so it wouldn't matter. You just be able to just do Warpinator on both sides, or you can transfer it with the flash drive. As long as you have a way to connect a flash drive to your Steam Deck, assuming you have a dock of some kind.
Okay, yeah, I could definitely do that then.
It's not too hard to find, and you can definitely easily Google or whatever type of web search you want to use for finding where the save location would be, and that's what I ended up doing so that I could copy over my save so that I could get the multiple endings on Dark Souls 3 and have my save copied over to PC.
Yeah. Going back to Psychonauts, just remembering certain stuff. Now, I can't remember. I want to say that the world with the milkman was the last level I went to. Actually, what's the world after that one like? Is that the?
It's like a stage, like a theater stage.
Okay.
And it's
Okay,
I don't think it's necessary. I think it might just be a side thing or something, because it wasn't like the story was pushing me in that direction. It's more like there was, after you finish the milkman thing, you get the crazy guy. He unlocks the door to the garden area, and then when you go in there, there's like this lady off to the side, and you can go into her mind for another stage.
Okay. Yeah, because I just remember like how far I went, because I definitely know I cleared the Milkman area. I just can't remember like if I completed the area after that one or if that was where I had stopped off at. But yeah, but definitely that's good. And like I said, I'll definitely try seeing if I can transfer my stuff over to the different version. So that way I don't have to worry about starting over, but I might just start over anyway. But yeah, and I'm definitely glad that you were able to get Superland up and running. And you know that you're now able to just like play that remotely and not have to worry about being at your PC if you don't feel like it. So that's definitely good.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I think right now my main thing is like I want to finish up Superland and Psychonauts before Rebirth comes out. And depending on how hooked I get on Dark Souls, it could end up being a third playthrough of Dark Souls. But we'll see how that goes. But yeah. Anyway.
Do you have all the endings for Dark Souls remastered?
Yeah, because there's just 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, since I already beat the game twice, I just did the different ending for each one. Still have a bunch of achievements, but most of them are related to getting spells more than anything else.
Right.
Spells, and there's like one achievement that didn't pop, even though it should have. And yeah, I think it's mostly just related to spells and gear and things like that. Because I have I want to say 8 achievements or something left. So I'm just gonna have to, whenever I decide to go back to it, like for real, try to get those remaining things. It's possible I might be able to do it without doing New Game Plus 2, but I'm not positive on that. I'd have to look and see, because if I can get all the spells in like my current game, then I would probably just do that. And theoretically I should be able to, but I think that there's also like having to infuse weapons with a certain element up to a specific level, like, and that sort of thing, and that ends up being more challenging. That takes a lot more effort. So I don't know. That's something that I probably would have to do in New Game Plus 2. But we'll see. Either that or copy my save over and then just use like the resources I need to level up a certain type of gear until I get to the level I need, then revert my save, and I mean, you're just that I get the achievement, then revert my save, and then do it for a different type of weapon, and so on and so forth. That might be the way to do it, but I'm not entirely sure. So whenever I decide I want to do that, then I will look into it. But yeah. All right. Anything else before we get into the Game Awards?
No, sir.
All right, so last week, obviously, we did a whole bunch of joke things about what was at the Game Awards, but now we actually have gotten past the Game Awards, and there were a bunch of big announcements, and thankfully none of them were as dumb as the ones that we came up with. So just to kind of do an overall set of highlights here. Okay, everything announced at the Game Awards. And this is in no particular order. So, The Witcher 4 was revealed with Ciri, who is a character in Witcher 3, at the helm of the game. The new Naughty Dog game, which was the last thing they announced, called Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet, which is a brand new IP, first new IP since The Last of Us, and that was revealed, a cinematic trailer for it. There's the Elden Ring spin-off, Night Rain, which is a roguelike co-op game with fall damage removed and has bosses show up even from Dark Souls 1 and 3 at the very least. I think Dark Souls 2 as well. Let's see here. There is a look at the next product from the developers of Eco, Shadow of the Colossus, and The Last Guardian. Doesn't have a name for it yet. Borderlands 4 was revealed. The Okami sequel was announced. Outer Worlds 2 was given a trailer and says it's coming in 2025. Mafia: The Old Country will launch next summer. More about Tales of the Shire. Black Frost: The Long Dark 2 coming to early access in 2026. First Berserker Kazan is coming March 27th, 2025. Last of Us Part 2 Remastered was confirmed for PC, coming out April 3rd. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is coming to PC in January. Thick as Thieves. I don't really remember what that game was, but it's just another game that was revealed. Slay the Spire 2 got a gameplay trailer. Hazelight, which is the developer behind games like It Takes Two and was it No Way Out? No, I don't think that's the name of the game. I can't remember, but it's various co-op.
So.
Yeah, maybe it was. Anyway, various co-op games they've done over the years. They revealed their new game called Split Fiction. New DLC announced for Dave the Diver. Project Century is a new game from the Like a Dragon developers. A new pixel art survival game called Kiora was revealed. Rematch is a football game that is soccer game from the Seafood developers. Solasta 2 was announced with a new cinematic and gameplay trailer. Pal World Faybreak update arrives shortly before Christmas. Killing Floor 3 is coming in March. Multiplayer horror comedy Midnight Murder Club enters its crossplay beta. Helldivers 2 new Illuminati faction is out now. Den of Wolves is a new heist game that they just revealed gameplay. There's a new Ninja Gaiden platformer game, a 2D platformer called Ninja Gaiden Ragebound. Shadow Labyrinth with Dark Evil Pac-Man was revealed, also a 2D platformer, or 2.5D. A cozy car trunk filling and unfilling sim, One Move Away, is coming in 2025. A mobile game called Steel Paws was announced. Stalcraft X Operations is... I don't know what that is. I don't even remember seeing that. Cat game, Frag Punk, which is a 5v5 hero shooter with cards. Steel Hunters, I don't remember what that was. Clive from Final Fantasy 16 joins Tekken 8 roster. I think it's this week, actually. Splitgate 2 coming in 2025. Mecha Break is coming spring 2025. A new Virtua Fighter game teaser was revealed as a development at Sega. Turok Origins is a third-person co-op shooter prequel. They say it's sequel. That's a prequel. Warframe 1999 expansion is out now. Onimusha Way of the Sword is coming in 2026. Dungeon and Fighter Arad is a new action RPG from Nexon. There's a new Dying Light game called The Beast coming in 2025. Let's see here. I'm just skipping past stuff that's pointless to talk about. The Crimson Desert, which was revealed some time ago, is coming in late 2025. Double Dragon Revive is coming October 23rd, 2025. It's a revival of the Double Dragon series. New stuff for Zenless Zone Zero. New update for Honkai Star Rail. a game called Wuthering Waves coming to PS5 next year. There's a 90s racing series that's returning called Screamer. And there was a teaser for new Sonic Racing game, Sonic Racing Cross Worlds. And then a Game of Thrones King's Road is coming in 2025 to mobile. Okay, so that is a brief summary of everything that was announced there, minus a handful of things I just skipped over. But go ahead and we'll go back and forth on which things stood out to us the most, and I'll let you start us off.
All right. So the first thing I'll start off is just Ninja Gaiden Ragebound. Now, it's been a while since we've had a new Ninja Gaiden, or at least more specifically, a 2D Ninja Gaiden game. I mean, I could be wrong, but I want to say that, what I can't remember what the official name is, but I just know it's a DS because that's the type of thing that happens with the Nintendo DS. There was one for there was a Ninja Gaiden. I think it was like Dragon Strike or Dragon something for the DS. I think that probably might have been the last 2D Ninja Gaiden game outside of the NES games. I think also there was a Super Nintendo enhancement version of those games. But so I mean, granted, it's been a long while since we've had a Ninja Gaiden game in general. Because I mean, of course, we had the remasters of the I guess reboot trilogy, but nothing else since then. So getting a new game is pretty cool. Now, I sucked at Ninja Gaiden on the NES. I mean, I played that I think on the NES Classic, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm doing horrible at this. I mean, I'm kind of having fun, but at the same time, I just suck at this so much. But you know, I think it's cool that the series is coming back. And I mean, what I can't remember if this is the same. I know that the publisher at least usually publishes like good stuff. Dotemu.
Mm-hmm.
So like I'm familiar with them. I mean, and they're also working with Koei Tecmo. So you know, it looks good. I really love the graphics. They look nice. Nice, good pixel graphics. And so I have faith that this will be a good game. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to this. I don't know if this is going to be like sort of a soft reboot or if it's going to be a continuation from the original games, but either way, yeah, it looks good to me.
Yeah, that was definitely one that stood out to me a lot. I've never played a Ninja Gaiden game other than maybe trying out like a demo at some point. I know that these games are notoriously hard, but man, the art style and just, I mean, I love the pixel art, and the gameplay looks like super fast paced and crazy, and I want to try this one out. So I mean, I don't know necessarily if it'll be a day one purchase for me or anything like that, but especially because I just have no idea if I'd even be able to handle it, but it looks so good. It was easily one of the best looking games in the show for me, and I think it was just about the first announcement that they had, one of the first ones. So but yeah, looks fantastic. In terms of my first thing that I want to talk about here, and this is just going kind of all over the place, but in terms of order. So the first thing I want to talk about, I didn't even see the announcement because since I was still editing the podcast, I didn't start watching the Game Awards until it was like, there was like maybe an hour left in the show, and I just rewinded back to the very beginning. That was just kind of fast forwarding through trying to find any announcements that came up. So I missed the announcement at the show, but as mentioned in the summary we did earlier, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is coming to Steam on January 23rd, and I am hyped about this. I am so excited about it because I was not expecting it to come this soon. Like, I knew that technically it could have come as early as May 29th of 2024 because it was, you know, just that three month guaranteed exclusivity for the PS5, but I mean, this is great. I am so happy it's coming over because I've been really anxious. Well, I shouldn't say anxious. Like I've been perfectly fine waiting, but it was also a game that I knew I would be buying as soon as it became available. And the best thing about this is, on top of the fact that it's, coming to PC and it's going to be the best version of the game, it's also that right now, if you buy it through Steam, if you pre-order, it's 30% off. If you buy it through Green Man Gaming, it's 43% off. And so Green Man Gaming, instead of spending $70 on the game, I spent $40. So it's like, actually, I bought it, pre-ordered it through Steam, and then I saw that Green Man Gaming had like another $9 off the price. So I went ahead and refunded my Steam purchase and then bought it on Green Man Gaming so I could get it for cheaper. But it's like, hey, that's a way better value. I mean, $40 for this game is fantastic. I'm so happy about that. And to make matters even better, Square Enix is apparently working to optimize this for Steam Deck, which is like, yes. Now, I'm not expecting 60 frames per second, but I will be perfectly happy if I can get 40, because I was able to get a very consistent 40 frames per second for Final Fantasy VII Remake and for Intermission, which is the DLC that came with that as part of Intergrade, and the standalone DLC, that is. And I mean, even if it doesn't run on Steam Deck, it's fine. Like, I want it to run on Steam Deck because I would love to be able to play at least some that way, because it's just very helpful to be able to, make progress rather than having to play at my desktop all the time. But I'm so hyped about this. I cannot wait for this to come over. Specs look completely reasonable, and from everything I can see, the visuals are significantly improved over what they were on PS5. And even if they weren't, I wouldn't really care, because I want to play this game. I loved Remake so much, and now Rebirth is coming, and I'm super excited. So yeah.
Yeah, that definitely was quite a surprise. And I think even apart from the fact that it was announced, I think that just the release date was the biggest thing of it all. Just because, I mean, hey, that's next month. I mean,
right.
Just say, hey guys, heads up, we've got Final Fantasy V coming to PC. I mean, not 5, 7 coming to PC. And also, it's, right around the corner. So go ahead and pre-order it. And I think it's cool that they also gave that special discount as well. And I mean, of course, it was cheaper on Green Man Gaming, but, just get 30% off. That was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely is good there. And I mean, as you said, also have Square mentioning the fact they're going to try to optimize it for the Steam Deck is another great bonus in that as well. So, definitely good news on that end.
Yeah, and of course, also the fact that this is not Epic Games exclusive, that it's coming straight to Steam on day one. I mean, it'll be on Epic Games as well, which is fine. I mean, by all means, they can go ahead and do that, but I'm just very happy that it's going to be on both and that I don't have to wait any longer. I mean, it wouldn't change anything for me if this game came to Epic Games first and not to Steam. I would just wait for the Steam version, because I already have a hard enough time deciding what to play, because I have so many games that I just like, I want to play this and I want to play this, I want to play this and this and this and this. But now it's just like, okay, I know now that I have until January 23rd to play whatever games I want to play. And then after that, it's going to be probably nothing but Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, unless it doesn't run on the Steam Deck, in which case then I'll probably be swapping between games during that time. But we'll see what happens. All right, give me your next game.
All right, so I'm sort of also going to jump around a bit. I'm going to go to Turok Origins. Now, to be honest, I don't have too much of a history with Turok. I did play a little bit of Turok 2 on the N64, But the problem was for me at the time was that I bought the game originally from just a retro game store, so it didn't come with instructions or anything like that. So when I was trying to play the game, I had no clue as to how all the controls worked. So I didn't really get too far in that. But I mean, I wanted to get into it because I heard the Turok games were good, and I tried to like also figure out where I'm supposed to go. I'm just looking around, I'm like, all right, I'm dropped right in the middle of everything. I don't know where I'm supposed to go. I don't know how the controls work. So I don't even think I finished the first stage. So I mean, I've been wanting to go back to the series, play. I think they remastered the games on PC, so I want to get back into those, play it through that. But seeing that they have this new game, it really made me interested in getting back into the series. And the fact that it's a third-person shooter is interesting to me. I'm not entirely certain what the choice for that design would be, but it definitely at least seemed intriguing. Not sure if that would really change too much. Like I said, I don't have too much history, so I can't say for certain. But yeah, I mean, also, it definitely seemed interesting enough. And I mean, I'm glad that they at first initially when I saw the gameplay, I thought it was gonna be like multiplayer only, but at least they can still have the option to play single player, because I don't know if I really would do multiplayer all that much. But so I'm glad they kept that aspect in there. But yeah, it definitely seems interesting to me, and I am looking forward to getting more information on it, and eventually getting back into the original games and giving them another shot.
Yeah, for sure. I'm not sure what I think about the third person, just because it kind of seems like, is that really needed? I mean, like, it looks good, like graphically it looks fantastic, and I'm sure that it plays well. I mean, from what gameplay they showed, it looked like it was something that would play really well. I just can't really fully understand why they feel the need to make it third person when the other games were first. I mean, I guess it's possible that maybe like Turok 3 or something was third person, but I kind of doubt it. So anyway, I have never played any of the Turok games. I have 1 and 2 on Steam because I got them very recently, and I've always wanted to check it out, especially because that that N64 fog just gives me so much nostalgia for that time. I'm actually kind of hoping that I can turn on the fog on the Steam version, just because it's like, I want to play that way. I want to get the feels, But anyway, yeah, I thought Turok Origins looked pretty cool. I think it's cool that they're bringing back this long dormant series, and I'll definitely be looking into that. I want to play the other ones before I consider playing Origins, because it's much easier to appreciate the gameplay improvements if you play the older games first. So, Yep. All right, next thing to talk about. This one I'm really just going to mention briefly, because it was more kind of like I got faked out by it for a second. So, the thing about Final Fantasy 16. So initially, when I saw the stuff for Final Fantasy 16, I thought that it was actually Final Fantasy 16 coming to Xbox. And then, they went to the Tekken part, and then it's like, oh, okay, that makes more sense. I just thought it would have been really funny if it was coming to Xbox. But, I mean, the trailer that I'm showing here, of course, is not the one actually from the Game Awards, or it's not in the same order, because originally when they showed it, like, they just show the introduction of Clive from Final Fantasy 16, but they don't initially show anything related to Tekken, and so you don't know that it's Tekken until you have stuff start showing up, and then it's like, oh, okay. But yeah, that's all I wanted to mention about that. I don't know if you were faked out at all by it.
That one actually, I partially that one I sort of jumped back in because at the time I was just like cooking dinner and stuff, and so I had the Game Awards show on my phone. And so I stepped away, and then when I came back, I was like, oh, Clive is in Tekken now. And so, like, I sort of missed that fake out part. But, yeah, I definitely would have been surprised, too, if I had been there, like, 10 seconds earlier.
Yeah. But yeah, that's all I had to say about that one.
So I guess jumping again to a different thing, Shadow Labyrinth was one of the bigger things that really caught my attention, partially because of the fact that it's a Metroidvania, and I'm really, of course, just fascinated with that genre of gameplay. And I mean, I was very surprised though seeing Pac-Man in a game like this, especially have that sort of dark fantasy setting, and then just seeing Pac-Man just mercilessly eating things. I mean, granted, he's mercilessly eating ghosts, but I mean, they kind of deserve it anyway. But it does seem interesting to me, and I am very, very, very interested in this game when it comes, because like, when does it come out again? Let me quickly pull it up. Okay, it's just 2025, so no actual concrete dates. But yeah, I am very interested in this game. It definitely looks nice. It's probably, yeah, it definitely would be either the most or second most anticipated game I'm looking forward to. And because of the fact that you have Pac-Man following you around, it reminds me of Ender Lilies, because of the fact that you have your, I guess, I can't remember what they're called, but you have like the different summons following you around that help you out and perform, and pretty much are the beings that attack and do moves for you. I mean, I don't think that it doesn't really completely apply to this case, because you can attack independently of Pac-Man, but
Right.
having him assist you definitely reminds me of that. So I'm looking forward to it. And also, I was kind of, I think, I was definitely surprised, because at first when I saw Bandai Namco and sort of seeing this dark atmosphere, I was like, no way, they can't be doing something with From Software, can they? I mean, granted, that's another topic we'll get into, but I was like, no way, they can't be doing something already. But yeah, so yeah, that's everything I have to say.
Yeah, this is like you. This one definitely stood out to me. I mean, obviously, Metroidvania. And even if it wasn't a Metroidvania, it was just a 2D action platformer. It still just looks great. I can't talk. Still looks great. Was very interested, even without the Pac-Man thing. And of course, the Pac-Man thing I think is just a very cool touch. But yeah, I mean, it looked great regardless, and the Pac-Man thing just makes it even more interesting, more fun. So, yep, very interested. All right, the next thing that I wanted to bring up was the new game that was teased by the developer Gen Design, and this has essentially the people who were involved in the creation of Ico, Shadow of the Colossus, and The Last Guardian. Now, of those three, I have not played Ico, or at least I didn't play very much of it. I played a tiny bit. I loved Shadow of the Colossus. Like, it was just, I mean, it's one of those games that just blew me away at how good it was. And of course the music is amazing in that game too. But yeah, so I love Shadow of the Colossus. Last Guardian was good, but I didn't like it as much. Either way, I'm definitely interested in this. The only thing that gives me pause is that Epic Games is involved with the development, which means it's probably going to be an Epic Games exclusive. And I'm not happy about that. But if I have to wait, I have to wait, and it is what it is.
Yeah. I that was the main thing that really kept me from having an interest, is because I knew that once I saw Epic Games, I was just knew that's rap. It's never coming over to outside of Epic Games. I mean, it'll be, of course, must have to be on the PS5. I doubt it'll come there, but maybe it'll come to Xbox. But I know as far as PC goes, it's just gonna be on Epic Games Store. I really don't see Epic letting go of that and allowing it to get published anywhere else. But I mean, it's good if we can get another game that's in that genre. I mean, granted, the games were different, but if we could either get an if we could get a Shadow of the Colossus, because that is a game that I really would have liked to have. I mean, of course they remastered it or remade it for the PS4,
Right.
but I mean, if we could have something like that on PC, and we technically did with Pray for the Gods, which came out
Right.
several years ago, but if we could still, if we got something from the original creators of Shadow of the Colossus,
Right.
that would be great. But, just the problem of Epic Games. So, looks good. I mean, granted, we don't know much of the game. Now, one thing that I thought was really interesting, which I don't know if it was intentional, was the yellow, the yellow lights running up the, I guess you could say the Colossi, just because of the fact that, I don't know if that was maybe a minor reference about like yellow paint and like showing where to go, but I just thought that was interesting, whether it was intentional or not.
Yeah, definitely. I think probably the thing that I appreciate the most about this happening is I really never thought, I wasn't sure if we would ever get another game from this creator, just because Japan Studio got closed down by Sony so many years ago. So I wasn't really sure if we'd ever see another one, but yeah, it looks promising. Just obviously, if it's going to be Epic Games exclusive, then I'll just have to wait and see what happens. See if anything changes. But talking about that, though, kind of makes me want to try to play the PS3 remaster of Shadow of the Colossus on the Steam Deck, because I bet it would probably, at least potentially could run well. I haven't looked up whether or not it does. And I don't absolutely have to replay the game, because, I played it once and I loved it, but if I didn't play it again, it wouldn't really, hurt anything. So either way, definitely interested in taking a look at this at the very least. All right, give me. No, go ahead.
Oh no, I just thought about one other thing is, I guess a slight concern is just the fact that because it's an Epic game, it's probably gonna be running on UE5. So that's
True.
something that could impact at least some of the performance of the game. But yeah, just one thing that popped into my head.
Yeah. All right, give me your next game.
All right, now actually this one is going to be quick, and I completely forgot about this until you mentioned it in the rundown, so I'm just going to quickly be brief about this. And that is the Faebreak, DLC or whatnot for Palworld. I still haven't caught up with the other stuff that was added some time ago, but I was interested that the fact they were adding more stuff in, and stuff that could be transferred over. I hope that I do hope that certain stuff won't break, because I do know that with trying to obtain certain stuff before some of the updates, it made it harder to go back and find what you're looking for. So I'm hoping that this isn't the case for this particular update. It seems interesting enough. It kind of seems better than the last one they had. They'll have definitely more stuff, especially with the weapons and armor that you can use. So I'm looking forward to that. I haven't played Palworld in a while, but maybe I'll jump back in at some point. But yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Good to know. All right. Next thing I'm going to talk about here is Outer Worlds 2. So I still have not finished the Outer Worlds, but what I've played of the game, I've always loved. I think I just got stuck at one point, and more just in terms of I was having trouble getting past some enemies, and so I just never really continued. But what I played of that game, it's hilarious and it's fun. I think actually the only thing that I really didn't like so much about that game is just how difficult it was to maintain ammo. That was the one thing that I found annoying, but otherwise, like, the humor is great, the visuals are great. Just, it's not supposed to be a very long game. I just never finished it, but yeah, Outer Worlds 2 looks great. Of course, I definitely would want to play the rest of the first game before I would even consider checking out the second one, but I could definitely see myself checking it out in the future for sure.
Yeah. Now I do want to say that I thought the intro for the trailer was very funny. Just the repeated so and so 2 from the creators from so and so 2, the critters of so and so 2.
Yeah.
And then finally just getting to Outer Worlds 2. Now I need to sort of go back to the game, or at least I'm interested in getting started in the game because of the fact that the game was free on GOG, and so I got a free copy. Or it wasn't free on GOG. It was free via Amazon Prime.
Right.
So I got a copy of that. So I only found out about it after the Game Awards show and got it there. So at some point I went to go back and play the game, try the game, and see if I would be interested in the sequel. Now, out of curiosity, just because I wasn't really looking too much at the game at the time, I was still just still listening while I was cooking. What type of genre is the game exactly? Because I never followed the first game too much.
It's basically very similar to Fallout in terms of its gameplay. So, and you could watch the comparison I did if you didn't already, and that gives you a pretty good idea of what to expect with the game. I mean, I didn't do as much of the side. I didn't do very much in the way of side stuff, but it still will give you a pretty good idea of what to expect. So yeah.
All right.
But yeah, it's good stuff. Yeah, I got the GOG copy as well through Prime, and I mean, of course, I haven't booted it up because I already had it on Steam, but definitely good to get a DRM free version. So, all right, give me your next game.
All right, so this one is one that I think definitely will apply to both of us, and that is Elden Ring Night's Reign. Now, I'll be honest, when I first saw this, I saw From Software, I thought, no way, this is a From Software game. What are they doing this time? Like they said, and especially since it started looking like Elden Ring, I thought it can't be Elden Ring 2. They said there were no plans for Elden Ring 2, and even if they had Elden Ring 2 coming, it would be way off. That's a game that would be way into the future. And then realizing, no, this is Elden Ring, but it's sort of a new game, and I was very intrigued. And I think the most intriguing part of the game is the fact that or at least it seems like it was possibly completely a co-op based game, which is different. It's really different from it's different from Software's type of game. I mean, sure, there have been co-op elements in their games, but not to this degree. It hasn't been like a main focus. So that was interesting. Now, I was also very surprised to see the Nameless King appear in the game, and which boss, by the way, was from Dark Souls 1 that you saw? Because I thought I saw the Gaping Dragon, but I wasn't entirely certain if that's what I saw.
I'm not sure about Gaping Dragon, but there's Centipede Demon was in there.
Okay. But yeah, it's definitely interesting. I want to know the reason why, though, that they put previous Souls and bosses in this game, because having that type of crossover has not happened before. I mean, outside, of course, certain mainstays like the Moonlight Greatsword, or having some variant of, oh gosh, what's his name? The guy who always like backstabs you, Patches.
Yeah,
like
Patches.
There's always a Patches these days, but never actually having an actual full boss from another game. So that's definitely interesting. I also think it's interesting how you don't have Oh gosh, what's the name of your mount?
Oh, gosh, it's on the tip of my brain.
It's I want it's not like Storm something. It's
Yeah, I mean, it's on the tip of my brain. I can't remember the name of the mount.
yeah, but I thought it was interesting that you now have a flying one that carries you around instead of just riding your spectral horse around. So I thought that was interesting because it will definitely change how you move around the world, especially if trying to get to certain stuff where it seems like you would in any other game try to climb up there, but now you can fly up there. So I thought that was a very interesting change of things. Now, from what it seems like on Steam, it's multiplayer only, which is the one thing I am not fond of, just because of the fact that I kind of avoided playing multiplayer, which is, from what you said, a similar thing, because of the fact that worrying about being invaded by enemies while you're online. If this is a game where you don't have any sort of engagement like that, if it's not you can invade and fight with other characters, and it's more so, yeah, it's mostly just co-op, as similar to something like Monster Hunter, then I'm definitely down for that. I do hope that you can at least play the game by yourself, just because I like having that option of playing the game by myself if I want to, and not necessarily having to rely on necessarily anyone else, or just because I don't want to play with anyone else. So I hope that is something that we still can do down the road. But overall, though, I'm definitely intrigued, and I'm very interested in this. I don't know if this will be something I get day one, especially since I still need to go back and get through Elden Ring in general, and then eventually down the road play the DLC. But this is definitely very interesting to me, and I look forward to give it a shot. Now, one thing also, because this seems to be standalone, I wonder if we're able to transfer certain stuff like our gear over to this game, or if this is just completely separate altogether and there's no sort of transfer whatsoever, and you just go in with what you have or what the game gives you.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I have to say.
All right, so a few things to clear up on that. For one, you can play single player, but it's designed around multiplayer. My understanding is that there is no PvP, so you don't have to worry about invasions. I mean, it is a rogue-like / roguelite. I guess it would be considered more of a roguelite. So you can like do some permanent upgrades, but it's not like you completely start over with absolutely nothing. I don't think you retain your levels or anything. There's 8 different character classes, which they haven't specifically said what all 8 of them are. You just kind of get an idea of at least 7 of them for sure in the trailer that they show here. I believe each run can go about, I think it sounded like you could get through an entire 3-day cycle in about 40 minutes, or at least get to the boss at the end in that amount of time. Or, that's how much time you basically have to get to the boss. Like it takes 40 minutes to get to either to the boss, or you get a total of 40 minutes to get through those days, and then it takes you to the final arena. Something to that effect. I don't have all the details offhand. I'm just mostly going off of memory from what I read and heard. There's no fall damage, which is something that's welcome. With the different character classes, so you have a set setup when you start up with a character, and I believe you can pick up new gear during a run, just like you would with any other roguelite that is usable during that run. But I believe that it isn't something you maintain beyond that. And I don't think that like levels get maintained or anything necessarily. I'm not entirely clear on that front. Let's see here. What else was there? I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I can't remember. What were the other concerns you had about it?
Uh, yeah, I think the only concerns I had were you being restricted to co-op and as a result possibly having to deal with PvP. But since both of those are you know since both of those aren't an issue, then that's really the main thing I had with that.
Yeah.
So I mean, now I'm just looking forward to it essentially.
Right. Another thing I forgot to mention is that you can revive your teammates by hitting them. You hit them with your weapon to revive them. So I mean, at least unless all three of you die, in which case I think then your run is over. But as long as you're not all dead, then you'll still be able to go. You'll still be able to continue on. So yeah, but yeah, there's everything I've seen about this game. It looks amazing. I too am not like a huge I don't want to have to do co-op because it can be fun, but it's so hard to find time to do co-op with people most of the time. So I typically prefer to just do single player unless I actually have the availability to do co-op. And yeah, it looks like it'll just be fun. I don't know that it'll be a day one thing for me because even though it is standalone, I'm not sure if I necessarily would want to dive into it right away, especially since I still haven't even made much of any progress in Elden Ring itself. And I know that even though they're not connected, it's still just like, I feel like I should get comfortable with Elden Ring fully and actually, do everything there is to do in Elden Ring, or at least, get through the story and side bosses and the DLC before I even consider jumping into Night Rain. But I still think it looks amazing, and I like the concept of it, and that you don't have to grind out a bunch, and it just seems like it could be a lot of fun. So, and it's going to be $40, so it's not too bad of a price for what you get, and I think that it's probably going to have a lot of replay value to it because of the fact that you can do a lot of runs. And I do want to mention, because of course you brought it up, but obviously I also noticed the Nameless King immediately when I saw him, because I pretty much had just fought him in Dark Souls 3. And it's just like, oh, that's cool. And you have a lot more room to run around from the looks of it. And it's funny when they show the centipede demon, like the hardest part about that fight was the fact that it was in a lava arena before you had the ring that reduced lava damage. And here it's like you're fighting him over water, and so like a large portion of what made him so difficult, or what made the fight challenging at all, was having all the lava, and you don't have to deal with that. But yeah, I just think it looks fantastic, and I do want to check it out. I just don't know how early it will be because of everything else. So all right, I do have a few other things, or maybe it's just a couple more. No, yes, I do have a few. So one of the first ones I want to talk about, it's another co-op game, and it's one that I'm in between on because I think it looks really fun, but I'm not entirely sure if I would actually play it because I don't do a whole lot of co-op games, and that is Split Fiction, which is the new game from the guy who made those other co-op games like No Way Out and It Takes Two, and just like it just looks really fun. And it's like a combination. You have the two characters going through different worlds that are switch between fantasy and sci-fi, and like you have portions where you're basically like Samus, and then just like the sci-fi stuff, it looks I mean, the sci-fi and the fantasy stuff both just look really fun. I mean, like, I didn't play any of the other games, mostly just because I don't do a whole lot of co-op stuff. But this one, if I was going to play a co-op game, this would probably be it, because it just looks really, really good. And, of course, I like the fact that they actually, like, made people who look like real people and, you know, not, for some random reason, you know, women who shave their heads. And, yeah, I just think it looks really cool.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. It looks good, but for the same reason as you know, it's a co-op game, and being in a situation to play something like this in co-op is rare. So it just personally isn't worth my time to really get into. It does look fun.
Yeah, I mean, like, if I could find someone, if I had the time and everything, you know, like someone I could consistently play co-op, I would absolutely love to play it. And there are other games, you know, like that where I would be interested in playing it. It's just, you know, my wife doesn't play video games a whole lot, and of course, this is, I mean, this does have local co-op, which is great. But even so, I don't know that I would necessarily want to dive into it. I think it's one of those that maybe what I would consider doing is if this became available. I mean, like, someday when the price is right, you know, when it's like really cheap, I would be willing to check it out and try to convince my wife to play it along with me. But that's probably the only way I could see myself doing that. So, yeah. But it does look really, really good. All right. The next, I guess I should ask first, did you have any other games that you want to talk about? Because I have two more. Yeah, two more.
No, that's everything on my end.
Okay. So next thing I want to talk about is the Okami sequel. So it doesn't have a title. It just, Okami sequel is all they have so far. I love the original Okami. It took me a few tries to actually get into it, because the very first time I tried playing it on the Wii, and I just had a really hard time getting into it. But then I wanted to give it another chance, so when it came to Switch, I got it on the Switch, and I absolutely loved it. It was a fantastic game. It was fantastic, so good. I never got around to playing the DS sequel, but it's one of the, well, part of the reason I haven't gotten around to it is mostly because, for one, it's a really rare game. It's really hard to find. But then two, because of the fact that I know that there's a way to emulate it on 3DS with, like, widescreen and everything else, and just, like, improved performance and stuff, and I just haven't gotten around to going through the effort to do that, because it's all mod based, and I haven't taken the time to mod DS games to run better and work better with the 3DS. So
Yeah, I feel like this is, I mean, I could be wrong, but I want to say this is probably the game that people were saying, like, oh, this is the surprise that people wouldn't expect.
Yeah.
I mean, and
one of them at least.
One of them at least. And I mean, to Capcom's credit, you know, they've started saying that they would start reviving dormant franchises. So, you know, this could definitely be the beginning of seeing stuff they haven't done in a long time. I was interested in getting at one point the original, or at least getting the remastered version, but on PC. But then I heard that the game was capped at 30 FPS, and I'm just like, yeah, I don't know about that one, Chief.
I mean, but, I would say if you were to get it on Switch, because then you have the touch controls for the brush strokes, which makes a big difference. It makes it control a lot better. I mean, the 30 frames per second sucks, but if you can get used to it, it's like, well, it's literally your only option because on Steam, there's not even a mod to get it up to 60. And I mean, the trailer for the sequel is in 60. So, I mean, at least I'm pretty sure it's in 60. So they should theoretically, I mean, they better put it in 60. There's no good reason not to. It's like they literally, there's no good reason. Something I do want to mention about this that we didn't already mention is that Hideki Kamiya is back helping with this after having left Platinum Games, and he's working with Capcom to make this sequel. So that's very cool.
Yeah, and we also now know the name of his new studio, Clovers, which, you know, great that he's back in action and he can, you know, get to making more great titles. And so also great, like you said, him working on this.
Yep, for sure. All right, last game I wanted to talk about was Naughty Dog's new project. And that one was actually pretty surprising to me because I mean, I think that this was, of course, one of the things that Jason Schreier was referring to as like, oh, this is finally being revealed because Naughty Dog hasn't put out a new IP since The Last of Us in 2013. And so this is their first new IP since then. I don't know what to think about this game. For starters, I don't trust Naughty Dog, particularly Neil Druckmann, after what he did with The Last of Us Part 2. Obviously, visually, it's stunning. I mean, of course it is. Naughty Dog is a master when it comes to making very excellent looking, very realistic looking, beautiful games. And some of the concepts behind it are kind of cool, even if it is a little, you know, already done, and, you know, not new. But the protagonist, that shaved head is automatically a red flag for me. And there is like a supposed leak regarding the plot out there right now, which I'm not going to talk about here because anybody listening, I don't want to spoil it for somebody who's actually wanting to play this game. And the plot actually sounds pretty decent, and it sounds actually very believable. Like it seems very likely that the leaked plot is a legitimate plot. So it's not as though there's actually technically an explanation for her shaving her head, but I still I don't like it because it's one of those things that it just feels completely unnecessary to do that. I don't know. There's really the number one red flag for me is just the fact that it's Naughty Dog doing it and that Neil Druckmann is still involved. It's funny though. Someone pointed out with this that the red jacket and the beam sword basically make it look like it's a bald female version of Travis Touchdown. Now, from the sounds of what the plot is supposedly, it's definitely not anywhere near the same plot as No More Heroes. But it's obvious that, well, it seems obvious to me that that's probably part of where the inspiration came from for the character design and all of that. I don't know. I'm very much like, I want to believe that Naughty Dog can make a great game again. And not to say, I mean, in terms of gameplay, obviously their games have been well designed, albeit very samey, because basically starting with Uncharted, they've had exactly the same formula, minus the fact that The Last of Us, they added zombies to it. It's just, been very, very similar between the two series, and it looks like this could potentially have more action-based gameplay that's not just cover-based shooter with, third-person cover-based shooter with stealth elements. But honestly, I don't really know until we actually see it in action, because all we have right now is just a cinematic trailer. And I don't trust Naughty Dog. They have not demonstrated to me with the decisions they've been making between The Last of Us Part 2 and the stuff that they started to do in for like The Last of Us TV show. It just doesn't give me a whole lot of faith. The only thing that I will say about this that makes me more intrigued at the very least is that the way that the character interacts with the robot thing at the very end of the trailer gives me almost Souls vibes, or even just No More Heroes vibes. And if they had combat that was like that, that could actually make it really fun to play, because I love No More Heroes, especially 1 and 2. 3 I'm kind of mixed on. But yeah, it's I'm at least interested. I'll keep an eye on it, and if the plot that leaked is true, I'm mixed on that. I think that what I've heard doesn't bother me nearly as much as what they did with Last of Us Part 2, because Last of Us Part 2, it was killing off a beloved character, and this one, there's some stuff, but I'm not going to say too much about it because I don't want to spoil anything, since this game, we don't even have a release window for this, let alone anything else. And it's very possible that someone just made up the plot details and that they're not actually accurate at all. So anyway, what are your thoughts?
Well, so before they show the trailer, did they say it was from Naughty Dog or who it was from, or no?
I don't think they did at the beginning. No, they just said that it was like a beloved developer, basically, and it wasn't until the very end of the trailer that they actually said it was from Naughty Dog.
Okay, because at first I didn't hear anything about that. So when I saw probably about the first 10, 20 seconds of the game, I already didn't really have much of an interest in the game at all. And then when I saw it was Naughty Dog game, I was like, yeah, I'm pretty much already out at this point. I mean, could the game be fun? Yes, but at the same time, I'm a very hard person to regain trust. I'm a once bitten, thrice shy kind of person,
Yeah.
and I sort of expressed that with my disdain for certain companies. So like, I really do not have any faith or trust in Naughty Dog, regardless of like all the games they put out in the past. Granted, I think the only game I really played was one of the Uncharted games on the PS3, but that was probably about it. And I never played The Last of Us at all, so I don't really have any attachment to the company anyway. But this does not seem like a game that I'm really interested in or would be interested in. So it's something that I would definitely pass. If I heard something that was really good, or rather I heard a lot of things that were really good on multiple ends, maybe I would be interested in trying it, but it would definitely be a long while before that happened. But just as it stands now, I'm just not interested at all in the game. So it's definitely a pass for me, unless I hear enough good things that I could say, all right, I'll buy this on sale. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as it is, it's highly unlikely that I would ever actually buy this game. Play it for that matter. I mean, I wouldn't pirate it anyway, but, like, the only way I would probably consider it is if I got it for free. I might check it out, but that's really the only way I could see myself doing it, because I don't trust Naughty Dog, and I don't know, I'm tired of having these games that just look super pretty and don't have as much depth necessarily. And yeah, I mean, if I found out that it is in fact a Souls-like, then maybe I would be more interested. But still, I have such issues with Naughty Dog that I just don't trust them to make something that I am willing to put my money towards. Especially because, as I say all the time, I have too many games to play already to be willing to put money down on a game that I only have the tiniest interest in. And even if people praise it immensely, well, a lot of people praise The Last of Us Part 2. And, you know, I don't agree with what they say, mostly because of what they did story-wise. Now, gameplay, I don't have any doubts. The Last of Us Part 2 has vast improvements over the first game. But the story stuff to me just felt like a complete betrayal of people who loved certain characters, and the story also just had issues that straight up didn't make sense. And I don't know, I really did not like what they did with it. And the problem was that the second game was already kind of a hard sell for me anyway, because like the first game was good. The story was really good. But my thing was that I didn't like playing that kind of game where it's just super tense all the time, because you're constantly having to be super stealthy to avoid the zombies, and it just was something that I did not want to deal with anymore. Like I made myself get through it, and I enjoyed it enough, but I never played it a second time. And that says a lot about it. Whereas, you know, like the Uncharted games, I was happy to go back to, because I enjoyed the gameplay and I enjoyed the tone, and it wasn't something where it was like tense or anything. It was just a cool story, cool characters. I mean, like Nathan Drake is a fantastic character, and of course Nolan North is just like perfect in that role. I mean, he is Nathan Drake. And so it was, you know, really easy to remain invested from that standpoint. But Last of Us, even though the story was engaging, and that was really the one thing that kept me going more than anything else. Not to say that there was anything wrong with the gameplay, just not really my style. But with the second game, knowing what they did with the story, I could not bring myself to even consider giving it any money whatsoever, and I've never played it, and I'm not going to play it. Oh yeah, something I do just want to comment on real quick, and obviously if you have anything else to say about it, you can say that as well, but with The Last of Us Part 2 coming to PC, it's like, I don't want the game, but I'm also kind of glad it's finally happening just to get it over with. Because there will be some people who will buy it. I didn't see who's doing the port. I'm hoping that Sony was wise enough to not use Iron Galaxy again for it, and they actually have someone better doing the port. Because right now, it is the only PC port that they've done that has been a bad port so far. Every other port has been great, especially anything that has Nexus attached to it. But then there's also... can't remember the name of the developer, the port studio that did the God of War games, and they did an excellent job on theirs as well. So, yeah.
I think let me pull this up, because I think I want to say, oddly enough, yeah. Here's the crazy thing: the developer is Naughty Dog, Nixxes, and Iron Galaxy. Which is definitely an interesting combo.
Are you talking about for part 1 or for part 2?
Part 2.
Okay.
That's who's under the developer.
Well, if Nixxes is involved, then I trust that it will probably be a good port. I think that after what happened with the last one, they realized they cannot put out that bad of a port again. They can't do that again.
Yeah. That's definitely true.
But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. This isn't a game that I wanted to come over. I would have much preferred getting something else. Like, if they said, hey, we're going to bring over Gravity Rush, we're going to bring over Shadow of the Colossus Remastered. We're going to bring over, dare I say, Bloodborne? I mean, we could finally even even if we forgot Bloodborne, we're going to complete or fulfill more of the NVIDIA League prophecy and bring over Demon Souls. Like, if they had done that, I would have been happy. But Last of Us Part 2 remastered, yeah, no, that's a nope for me. That's a pass.
The one thing I will say that's good about that one coming over is that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is coming before it. And I mean, I know that obviously Rebirth is developed by Square Enix and not by PlayStation, but the fact that they're both PlayStation exclusives, or have been console exclusives, we knew they would both be coming over eventually. But Rebirth, I'm so much happier that that's coming first, because we'll just leave Last of Us Part 2 to sit there and wither away and die like it deserves to. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if it sells well, but it's not going to sell as well as the first game did, because people are, for one, they're going to be gun shy after how bad the port for Part 1 was. But then two, they're also going to be concerned. I mean, there's also going to be a lot of people who won't buy it because of the PSN requirement. It's like,
Yeah.
And then on top of that, of course, there's a bunch of people who just straight up can't buy it because of the PSN requirement. 180 countries that can't buy it. So, whatever, Sony.
Yep.
But yeah, obviously I'm extremely hyped, as I've said so many times already, about Rebirth, and looking forward to playing that one. The only thing that's really bad about it is it's 155 gigs. It's a lot, but it was 2 Blu-ray discs for the PS5 version, and that was before they did the enhancements that they did for the PC version. So, but yeah, either way. So yeah, good stuff. All right. Anything else from the Game Awards you wanted to discuss?
No, sir.
All right.
Although I guess I'll just quickly say, but when the trailer for Elden Ring Night Reign was revealed, and this was before we got the actual game of the year announced, I thought, well, I guess we know what game of the year 2025 is gonna be. Because I was like, if Shadow of the Erdtree wins game of the year again, we're just gonna have like 3 years of Elden Ring getting game of the year. But yeah, it didn't win. But at the time, I was thinking, well, we got 3 years in a row for Elden Ring.
Well, Elden Ring was 2022, so
yeah, that's true.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely. What was I going to say about that? Gosh, there was something I was going to say about that Elden Ring thing. Oh, yes. It could definitely be in the running potentially for Game of the Year, but I have a feeling that because of the fact that it's not that same single-player experience, it probably wouldn't get Game of the Year next year. And I think that there's at least a handful of big games coming out next year. I mean, you have Death Stranding 2, which, of course, will likely end up being my Game of the Year. Well, that is, if it comes to PC. If it doesn't come to PC, then it won't be my Game of the Year. And then Rebirth might end up being that. But, yeah, I can't remember what else there is next year. Oh, there's Monster Hunter Wilds and plenty of other stuff. But anyway, I mean, obviously, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, which certainly has a chance to make the running. We'll just have to wait and see what all Nintendo brings out next year, because if that's Nintendo's biggest game next year, then I think it will be in the running. If it's not Nintendo's biggest game next year and they do like a 3D Mario, then Mario will probably take the spot instead. So what they really need to have is they need to have a category for Metroidvanias. But I know that the only problem is that Metroidvanias don't have enough wide appeal for it to get its own category. So, because people are crazy, or just because they haven't tried them. Anyway, that is everything I have as well. So, recommendations and dissuasions.
All right. So my recommendation, and your recommendation last week reminded me of this, so I had to watch this past week, and that is another Christmas movie starring Nicolas Cage. This is called Trapped in Paradise. It is a comedy film starring Nicolas Cage, and I can't remember the names of the other two actors, but they're three brothers, and they are, well, at least on Nicolas Cage's end, he's an ex-convict, and the brothers are newly released convicts, and he's trying to go straight. But the problem is, after an incident with his brothers, with the law enforcement, they have to leave town, and they go to a small town called Paradise, where, based on a letter that his brother gave him about a friend who was sick and needs to be visited before he passed. Once they're there, though, he gets involved in a bank robbery. So all sorts of stuff happen as a result of that, and it's just a funny movie. And it's sort of one of those smaller, or at least one of those, I guess you could say, cult classic Christmas films. So yeah, but definitely recommend it.
You said Trouble in Paradise?
Trapped in Paradise.
Trapped in Paradise, okay.
Also, the reason why it's called Trapped in Paradise is because when they try to leave, there is a huge snowstorm, and so they can't escape. And also, just the people in Paradise are all friendly people who just want to take care of them. So it's the fact that they're robbing the town, but the people are just so kind to them and want to make sure that they're fine. And, since they're trapped and they can't leave, that they take care of them.
Okay. Go ahead and link me to that. I'll have to check that out. See if we can fit it in somewhere in the next couple of weeks before Christmas. So, all right. Well, I have to recommend what is debated as whether or not it's a Christmas movie, but I consider it to be a Christmas movie, and that is Die Hard. Every year since, I believe, probably 2019, I've been watching Die Hard and playing Assassin's Creed while I watch Die Hard. So, of course, in the past, like originally I started it off, I was still playing Assassin's Creed Origins, and then I started playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey. And to give you an idea of how much less I've enjoyed Odyssey, I've been playing Odyssey every year since then, and I still haven't finished it. So, but anyway, I'm planning to do that this Wednesday, since I will be on vacation after I get off work. I'm going to put that on, play some Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and I'm very much looking forward to it, because my wife doesn't particularly care for that movie, but I enjoy it, so I'm going to be watching it, and I want to recommend it. Additionally, I want to recommend playing Superland on the Steam Deck. Obviously, for someone who's more picky about frame rate and is not willing to accept 45 frames per second, like a certain someone I know, it would perhaps not be good enough, but for most people, 45 frames per second is just fine, and it plays great, looks great on the deck. Stretched out, it doesn't look quite as good, but on the deck screen, it looks pretty good. I'm happy with the performance, and it's a fun 3D Metroidvania. And I discovered that there's actually both I'm not sure if it's just like a smaller side game or if it's actually a sequel. And there's another sequel that that is not yet out, but is coming out sometime soon. So I may end up checking those out in the future as well. But for now, I'm enjoying this one. Last thing I want to recommend is that if you want to get Final Fantasy VII Rebirth on PC, definitely consider picking it up before it releases, mostly because of the fact that right now, if you go through Green Man Gaming, which all you have to do is just sign up for an account, you don't have to put down your credit card or anything. It just basically you get offers for stuff, and they frequently have good discounts. But if you sign up for them, you can get 43% off. So the game is only $40 instead of $70 for the complete game, and it's same discount level, 43% off if you get the deluxe edition, which I'm not, because the only thing it comes with that I'm interested in for that is the soundtrack, but it's not the full soundtrack. It's just a partial soundtrack, and I'd rather just get the full soundtrack physical, and so I'll keep my eyes peeled for a deal on that, or just, buy it when I am not already spending a bunch of money on Christmas stuff. So, but yeah, that is what I have for recommendations. So, dissuasions.
All right, so my dissuasion is going to be the same thing I believe I had last year, and that is, don't take the Game Awards show so seriously. I mean, I'm certain that there are people who are not happy with some of the results for some of the winners, and at the end of the day, if you enjoyed the game that you wanted to win, if you enjoyed the game you wanted to win, that's probably the most important thing. I mean, the Game Awards show essentially is just a giant advertisement show anyway, whether it's for the games that have already come out that are being nominated, or for games that will be coming out in the future. So, it's not going to impact the experience that you had with the game if it won or didn't win. So don't let that stress you out. I mean, there are definitely more important things you could be concerned about in gaming, even outside of that. Not even mentioning stuff that outside of gaming, but as far as with the gaming, there's definitely more stuff you could be upset about. So don't let the award show drive you into a frenzy.
Always good. Yeah, I think there are some people who are more upset about Game of the Year, who won Game of the Year, than they are about the latest presidential election, even if they were on the side of, on the quote-unquote losing side. Yeah. Some people just take this stuff way too seriously, and it's, like you said, chill out, please. Don't take it so seriously. It doesn't matter. None of it matters. The only thing that matters about the Game Awards is the announcements, which can be fun, and this year had some good announcements, and that lots of discounts come as a result of this show. So,
Yep.
that's always very good. All right, well, my dissuasion is that if you want to record footage to share from Steam Deck, if you're recording on the deck itself, make sure that you play your game in 16:9 resolution, because 16:9 aspect ratio, because if you do the default 1280 by 800, which is 16:10 aspect ratio, you're not going to get an image that fills the whole screen when you're putting it on a different screen. So, because unfortunately the footage that I recorded from Superland was in the 16:10 aspect ratio, and so when I tried to put it in the in the video version of the podcast, it just was like, had the sides of the screen were filled up with like the background stuff, and it just looks funky. And yeah, I just forgot to switch it over before I recorded any footage, so I'll probably just re-record some footage and make it work. But yeah, that's what I got.
Quick question, just because I'm just very curious right now. How do you record for your Steam Deck?
Well, it's a native feature now. You can set it up either to automatically record footage, or you can set it to where you just like set hotkeys to do it. Like the way I do it on mine is I hold down the Steam button, press A, and then it starts recording, and you manually start and stop it.
Okay,
It's out of beta now. It's in the official release. So.
Okay. So you're recording directly on the Steam Deck itself.
Right. I mean, I have, in some cases, I've connected my Steam Deck to my computer and then recorded that way through OBS, but in this case, it was recording directly off the Steam Deck.
Okay.
And
okay,
most
yes.
of the footage that I use from Steam Deck, I record directly on the Steam Deck.
And I guess sort of just as a general follow-up question, what is does that like has that impacted your performance too much from what you can tell, or is it pretty much the same?
I think the only game where it really impacted performance was Horizon Forbidden West, but that game already ran terribly anyway. So, yeah, that's the only game I've really noticed it impacting performance. Otherwise, I really haven't had any noticeable issues, especially the games that already run really well.
Okay, yeah, I'll definitely keep that in mind then, because I've been only recording, well, at least with my Steam Deck, I've been only recording through a dock into OBS, and that's really, and I guess as a result, some stuff I just don't record because I don't have it connected to the
Right.
dock. So I'll definitely keep that in mind then, so that way if I want to record something but I don't want or feel like docking my deck, then I'll definitely look into that. So thank you for that information.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, where can people find you?
They can find me on my channel. I am Xeracon. That's IAMXERACON. So youtube.com/@ I am Xeracon. No new videos this past week. Partially, I thought that we would be getting the Steam year in review information out, but we haven't received it yet. So that'll delay when the next video I have is coming out. But this Friday when the video comes out this evening at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, I will be live streaming Batman Arkham Origins. It's sort of a tradition of mine that I now have, where I play the game and stream it, and also see how long I can play the game before I eventually die. So we'll see if I can make it further than I did last year. Also, I'm gonna be smart and start earlier this year than last year, so I don't start feeling drowsy during the stream. But yeah, we'll see what happens, and I'll also have some Steam codes to give away as well during the stream. So
Nice.
stop by.
Good stuff. Yeah, unfortunately, I won't be able to tune in since I have family coming over for our annual guys movie night and food night, making nachos.
Ooh.
So Uber nachos. My brother-in-law's bringing the queso and chips. My other brother-in-law's bringing guacamole, and I'm making some chicken taco meat because my nephews can't, have alpha-gal, so they can't have beef or pork. And then also some carne asada. Specifically, I'm using Sam the Cooking Guy's recipe for carne asada. It's really good, especially because what I do, and I actually did this for my Philly cheesesteak pizza for my cooking channel as well, is I use the meat slicer and I slice a mostly frozen roast so you can get it like super duper thin, and then marinate it and then cook it up on the griddle, and it's just so good. But anyway, okay. You can find me on my YouTube gaming channel at TheFrozenGamer87. Today, that is Monday, December 16th, I put out my OLED comparison for Red Dead Redemption running on the Switch OLED and the Steam Deck OLED. Go check that out. Pretty cool comparison. It's not perfect in terms of the most accurate representation of how it looks on both screens, but it definitely looks better on the Steam Deck screen either way, mostly because of the HDR and obviously because the visuals are just improved due to the added horsepower. Plus, it's 60 frames per second on Steam Deck, or can very easily be 60 frames. You can cap it at 30 as well, or any other thing if you so choose. But either way, it's just an interesting comparison. So check that out if you want. Obviously, we also have clips from the podcast that go up every week, and it's just, all the different topics we talk about. So today, this time it's going to be mostly Game Awards, so it's going to be like basically one big long topic, most likely, instead of having it separated. In fact, it's possible that because of the fact, well, no, I probably will still separate it because we had our other discussion separate from that. So I'll keep the Game Awards stuff as its own video, and I'll just publish that separately. But anyway, additionally, I have a YouTube cooking channel, Not Authentic But Delicious. That's YouTube at NABD Cooking. And that's right. My week is thrown off because we're recording on Monday, so I don't have anything going up this week. I'm not sure if I'll have anything go up next week. It mostly depends on whether or not I have time to record something. There's the potential I could end up recording a chicken meatball recipe, but I probably won't. Mostly because the only reason I'm making chicken meatballs specifically for Christmas is because I have to make them alpha-gal friendly, and so I can't have cheese in them. And it's, just having to work with what I can use for making them to where my sister and her kids can eat them. But anyway, so yeah, nothing new planned right away. I have a few things in mind. I just don't know what kind of time I'm going to have for recording. I do want to back up real quick regarding my Frozen Gamer channel. I'm trying to decide between two different comparisons that I would do next. It's either going to be I would do Undead Nightmare for Red Dead Redemption. That is one option. Or I would do Persona 5 Strikers, which I found out there is a way to get that running properly on Steam Deck, because originally on its own it does not launch properly on Steam Deck, but there's a way to do it that seems to be pretty easy. So I think it's just using a certain version of Proton that it'll actually launch in, and so I'll probably end up doing that. And I do want to mention I'm going to be trying something different with the recordings. At least do a test, if nothing else, before I actually do the real deal. And that is, I have figured out a way that I can do the recording of the audio separate from just recording through the camera, which would mean that it would be able to be completely clean audio, and I wouldn't have to worry about background noise, which means that I would have the option to record a lot more easily at a different time of day. It's just a matter of, making sure I have a clean surface to work on. But that would be huge. The only thing that makes it more tricky is because of the fact that I would only be recording the audio directly into a separate recorder, is that since there wouldn't be any audio coming out of the speakers, I wouldn't have anything to sync it up with except doing the best I can to do it on my own. So that's the one part that makes me unsure about whether or not that's a viable option. But I'm at least going to test it out, probably just do a brief test recording, see how it works with getting it put together like that. And if that works, I would definitely do that going forward, because that would be really nice to have that nice clean audio the whole time and not have to worry about kid noises in the background, which means I wouldn't be as limited about when I can record. It's just a matter of having the time to do it. So, but anyway, so yeah, that's everything for those channels. Of course, for the podcast itself, we have the YouTube channel, the Orange Box Podcast. There we have the video version of the podcast to go up every week, Friday, 7 a.m. Central Time, barring any issues with uploading, which I've just given up on trying to upload directly through Premiere because it just doesn't work. So last week I went ahead and uploaded separate from Premiere, and that way I didn't have to worry about that side of things. But the video version of the podcast, not only can you see our beautiful faces, but you can also see clips from the games we've been playing, as well as trailers from the various games and things that we've been discussing. like this week we have trailers from all the different stuff that was revealed at the Game Awards that we talked about, with maybe a couple of exceptions where we didn't really touch on it much, like the Last of Us Part 2 remastered, mostly because neither of us care. So it is what it is. But yeah, so there's that, of course. If you are listening, if you want the audio only version of the podcast, it goes up every Friday at 12 a.m. Central Time. And that's on all major podcast platforms, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, Spotify, Deezer, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Pandora. It's basically just all over the place. You can find it just about anywhere. And you get basically the same thing minus the video. So you either get the video with everything, including the music and all that, plus the trailers and the gameplay footage, or you just get the audio only version that has just the talking and the music, and that's all. Either way, it's good stuff. Definitely make sure to check out whichever you prefer. And if you want to contact us, you can either send us an email, theorangeboxpodcast@gmail.com. You can comment on the video version of the podcast. You can also tweet us, write us through X, at the Orange Box Pod. And I think that's everything for that. I do want to mention the podcast this week will still be going up on Friday like normal, but next week for Christmas we're also going to be recording on Monday, and it's going to go up on Christmas. So it's going to be slightly different for the next couple weeks, but either way it will be there and ready to go. So that is everything I have. Any final thoughts on your end?
No, sir.
All right. Well, I am the Frozen Gamer 87. That is I am Zeracon. We are the Orange Box Podcast. And until next time, in case you don't listen before then, have yourself a Merry Christmas. Orange Box Podcast out.